everybody. I'm Scott Dawson. I'm Dean of the Business School. It's a pleasure to welcome you here on this rainy, atypical Denver day. It is what it is, though. Presenting some problems for graduation across the state. So welcome to the Robert Reynolds Distinguished Lecture. And we appreciate you being here to hear the lecture from the Honorable Nakyon Lee, the former Prime Minister of South Korea. Thank you for coming from Washington, D.C. Had to travel into Denver yesterday, which was not any easy feat whatsoever. Thank you, Jill, Karen, and team for putting this event together. The Robert Reynolds Distinguished Lecture Series at CU Denver Business School is supported by the Robert and Viola Reynolds Endowment for International Business for the purpose of inviting renowned faculty, business practitioners, and government leaders and officials to speak at the University of Colorado, Denver. The Reynolds program is focused on providing international business education and experiences to students through the generous gift from the Reynolds family. The business school is focused on ensuring our graduates are Denver built and global ready. My colleague, Jill Lohmiller, leads that program. Thanks for all her great work. We have many connection points with South Korea faculty and students, not only in the business school, but across the university. It's now my pleasure to introduce you my boss, the provost, Constancio Nakuma. He's a dedicated educator with nearly 30 years of higher education experience. He joined CU Denver after a successful 19-year tenure at Clemson University, where he served as associate provost for academic affairs. In addition to his administrative role at Clemson, Constancio was a professor of French and linguistics and served as the senior associate dean of academic multilingual scholar and was educated in Africa, Europe, and North America. He received his bachelor's degree from the University of Ghana, Legon at Accra, Ghana, and his master's from the University of Paris, Nanterre, sorry. French is much better than mine. And his PhD from the Sorbonne Nouvelle. Constancio?
Thank you, Scott, for this very kind introduction. And Nanterre will be very disappointed to hear how you pronounce it. But so I want to thank the business school for bringing such opportunities to CU Denver and to the Institute of International Business, the Center for International Business Education and Research, Reynolds Fund for International Business, and Dr. Jeongbo Sheng. Thank you for co-organizing this event. It's a great honor to have you all here. And I see a lot of our students and faculty are here. Thank you for being here. Mr. Prime Minister, Yi Nakyon. That's the way it's supposed to be in Korean. Yi Nakyon. Special welcome to Denver and to the University of Colorado, Denver, where it's a great honor to have you. And we look forward to your speech on how the United States is going to be, if it wants to live up to its image, what it needs to be doing. So we're really eager to hear your thoughts on that. So during the past decades, CU Denver has established meaningful collaborations with academic institutions in South Korea, such as the leadership program at the School of Public Affairs for South Korean government officials. The Institute for International Business has also hosted field studies for business leaders from Sangyong Corporation and a faculty development program in international entrepreneurship in Seoul. The business school and our other schools and colleges have welcomed many students from South Korea, and we are very appreciative of these partnerships, which with your presence here, we are looking to further develop as we continue this trend of collaboration. Mr. Lee, we look forward to your talk. The main thesis of your lecture, which regards the critical role that the United States should play to regain its global leadership by pursuing greater inclusiveness, rebuilding the middle class, and realizing economic justice at home, resonates very much with the goals of CU Denver. Under the leadership of our Chancellor, who could not be here, and on behalf of whom I extend greetings to you, Michelle Marks, a strategic plan highlighted the ambition of first equity-serving institution. Now, this extremely ambitious yet realizable goal emphasizes the importance of recognizing the differences we all bring to make this world the place we want it to be. And so in the process of educating students, CU Denver is committing to highlighting the individuality of every student, taking the time to understand their needs, and putting in all the effort and resources needed to respond to those needs. That's what we've decided that we want to commit to as an institution. And so just to give you a sense of the student body we serve, we admit students for all ages. And our goal is to educate from age 7 to age 117, right? That's our University for Life ambitions. And that feeds into part of what we consider to be the importance of equity serving as well. So again, welcome Yi Kwon, and I will turn it over to Scott, who is going to introduce you. Thank you.
The Honorable Lee Nakyon is the former Prime Minister of the Republic of Korea, serving during the Moon Jae-in administration. He graduated from Seoul National University with a degree in law and became a journalist at Don Elite Elbow. Sorry. After 21 years as a journalist, he entered politics and served 5 terms as a member of the National Assembly. During his 4th term in 2014, he became the governor of Jeollanam-do province until President Moon nominated him as prime minister in 2017. He was also elected as the chairperson of the Democratic Party of Korea in 2020. During his years in public affairs, he has focused on both the domestic and international affairs of South Korea. As prime minister, he was responsible for domestic issues, including the safety of citizens, Unification Committee at the National Assembly, through which he worked toward a peaceful inter-Korean relationship. He is currently a visiting scholar at the George Washington University Institute for Korean Studies, where his research focuses on the peace-building process on the Korean Peninsula. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Dr. Dawson, for your detailed introduction. And thank you, Dr. Nakuma, for your warm remarks on me. Among a lot of American people I have met, Dr. Nakuma and Dr. Dawson pronounced very correctly my first name. Yeah. My first name is Nakyon. It contains two letters in Korean language, that is Nak and Yon, and their initials are NY. Every time I visit New York, I'm very impressed to know that there are so many supporters and fans in New York. A lot of people are wearing shirts or caps printed with I love NY. And every souvenir shop is full of the goods also printed with I love NY. Now I'm considering if I could run for some election in New York in my future. Good morning, distinguished guests, faculty members, students, and fellow attendees. I'm deeply honored to be here today to address such a diverse and esteemed audience. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere apologies for not being able to join you in April as originally planned. The passing of my father-in-law was a difficult time for my wife here, my family, and me too. And I appreciate your understanding and support during that period. And I'm grateful to have an opportunity to speak before you now. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Nakuma, Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, Dr. Dawson, Dean of Business School, and Dr. Teskey, Dean of School of Public Affairs, for their warm condolences and welcoming me. It's truly a great honor for me to be welcomed such outstanding leaders. Additionally, I'm thrilled to be here in Colorado, a place I've longed to visit ever since I learned the song Moonlight on Colorado in my middle school days. It is a dream come true to finally to be able to experience this beautiful state in person. But unfortunately, I couldn't enjoy any moonlight. I couldn't see the sky. I couldn't see Rocky Mountains. I couldn't see anything but rain. I think it means I have to come here again. Today, I'd like to offer you my views on America's foreign policy and listen to your opinions. America is one of the most successful countries in history. There are many reasons for my such belief, and one of them is this. America is the first country that was associated with the name, with the word dream. By this, I mean the expression, the American dream. In recent days, another country started using dream after its name, which is China. But the American dream and the China dream are different. I'll tell you two important differences. First, the American dream spontaneously grew in the hearts of American people. Horatio Alger, an author, wrote prolifically from the 1880s about rags to riches stories of poor boys, which American readers found engrossing. James Adams, a historian and author, first rendered such dreams of Americans or the country that Americans envisioned as the American dream in his book, The Epic of America in 1931. Unlike the American dream, the China dream is a state goal set forth by the country. President Xi Jinping first pronounced the state ideology of China dream at the Communist Party of China Congress in 2012, when he asserts is to rejuvenate China's former glory of the center of the world in the 21st century. President Xi mentioned the China dream as many as 32 times in his speech at the Communist Party of China Congress in 2017. The second difference is more significant. The American dream was not just a dream of the American people, but that of the global citizens who admired America as well. All of those who emigrated to America landed here bearing the American dream. And those who remained in their homeland also knew the American dream. That is not the case for China dream. It is the dream of China as a country. It seems to be embraced by the Chinese people as their dream as well, but it has not quite become a dream of global citizens. America made not just Americans, but the entire world dream. Eric Hobsbawm was a historian who was born in Egypt, 1917, worked actively in Britain, and was later elected to be a fellow of American Academy of Arts and Science. And he went so far as to say that every urbanite in the world, he said, everyone, at least every urbanite in the world, had two home countries, their motherland and America. America was the only country in human history that received such praise. What turned the American dream into not just a dream for American people, but for the entire world? The biggest reason was the belief that America had a wide and level playing field for economic success. America promoted human rights by putting democracy in practice and presented a new goal for humanity. Wisdom and endeavors of American society to embrace diversity of different races, ethnicities, languages, and religion was a fresh awakening to humanity. America successfully spread their value to the liberal part of the world. American movies and pop music with mass appeal took the world views by storm. That was why Hobsbawm paid the aforementioned tribute to America. But just like everything, America has changed. Unfortunately, not as many people talk about the American dream anymore. America's economic growth has slowed down, and opportunities for individuals to succeed have become increasingly limited. The gap between the rich and the poor have become gradually fixed and widened. The popular region that erupted through the Occupy Wall Street protest in 2011, political polarization and administrative inefficiency revealed the government's limited problem-solving capability. Societal anxiety and frictions around guns and drugs have been flaring up. And the rise of China has become a big challenge for America and the world as a whole. Emboldened by its growing economic clout, China is building up its military power and influence in the international stage. Russia's invasion of Ukraine put the liberal world order to the test. At present, the top pending foreign policy challenge for the US government is to keep the rise of China at bay and while coping with the war in Ukraine. China's challenge is not sole reason for deteriorating American leadership on the international stage. America has for instance, Trump had to pull America out of many international organizations and broke a number of multilateral treaties, including the UNESCO, the World Health Organization, the Paris Agreement, and Iran nuclear agreement, and the intermediate range nuclear forces with Russia, and even the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. Among them, the Biden administration decided to rejoin WHO and Paris Agreement. Historically speaking, the pendulum of the American foreign policy was swinging between isolation and engagement. However, isolationist foreign policies and protectionist economic policies undermined America's international stature and credibility. America veered into isolationism and protectionism in recent years with some reasons. In the wake of the September 11 attacks in 2001, America was plunged into the Middle Eastern quagmire through the wars in Afghanistan and then in Iraq. In 2008, it had to face an economic crisis triggered by subprime mortgages. Those painful experiences led to the isolationist America First stance, deepening anti-immigration sentiment and withering tolerance for diversity in America were all part of that trend. It is hard to emphasize the America First stance and strengthen America's global leadership at the same time. America has a choice to make. I propose America pursue greater inclusiveness by rebuilding its middle class and realizing economic justice domestically, and regain its global leadership by building up soft power externally. I believe that is the spirit of America and how America can contribute to the world while advancing its own national interest as well. The experience of global citizens and Americans dreaming the American dream together has become a valuable shared asset for humanity. The world accepted such values as guaranteed equal opportunities, promotion of democracy and human rights, and tolerance for diversity through the United States. Since the outset of the climate crisis, the global community has grappled with the problem together with the United States, thinking about how to jointly make sacrifices and contributions for the future of our planet and humanity. That dream is what humanity should never stop pursuing. As America has spread and realized that dream in the world so far, it should keep working to achieve the dream going forward. That is America's privileged responsibility. If America turns away from the task for whatever reason, it would be a great misfortune for humanity and America's evasion of responsibility. And it would mean the collapse of the American dream. The US-China competition is intensifying. Some define the competition as a new Cold War. And there are varying prospects as to how that competition would end. I would like to say that if America continues on the path of spreading and realizing the universal values that it introduced to humanity, many countries will choose America as their diplomatic and economic partner. And that is how America should prevail. The American dream is not over yet. The dream that humanity came to dream thanks to America should not be over either. Now, I'd like to switch gears and speak about America's attitude toward the Korean Peninsula. The United States has long been actively engaged in the Korean Peninsula issues, but has recently taken a passive stance. Most PT or non-proliferation 3, and that triggered the first North Korean nuclear crisis. In 2006, North Korea conducted its first nuclear test. The time period around the test was the second North Korean nuclear crisis. During the first North Korean nuclear crisis, the Clinton administration negotiated with North Korea and reached a comprehensive agreement called Agreed Framework in 1994. However, the agreed framework fell short of implementation. During the second North Korean nuclear crisis under the Bush administration, North and South Korea and the US, China, Japan, and Russia got together for the six-party talks and produced comprehensive agreements in 2005 and 2007. Unfortunately, those agreements were not implemented either. After the second crisis, we stopped counting North Korea's nuclear crisis. It does not mean the crisis ended. Rather, it implies that North Korea's nuclear program has become an established fact and the crisis have become a norm. In the wake of 6 nuclear tests and ICBM launches, North Korea declared completion of its nuclear force in 2017. After that, Chairman Kim Jong-un had summit meetings with President Donald Trump in 2018 and 2019, but gained nothing. When the new US president came into office in 2021, North Korea seemed to restrain from provocation and observe the moves of new US administration. The Biden administration expressed its willingness to engage North Korea in talks without preconditions about 20 times, but took no substantial actions. And in 2022, North Korea launched a whopping of 69 ballistic missiles, including ICBMs. except for a short period before and after the negotiations with North Korea. The US has been pressing North Korea and backing it into a corner via economic sanctions and military pressures. America expected that North Korea would give in, suffering from pressure and isolation. However, contrary to the anticipation, the North advanced its nuclear and missile capabilities and grew more dependent on China. The China's portion in North Korea's trade was 20% in 2000 and 40% in 2007 and 95% now. The North Korea policy of primarily putting pressure on the country was not able to denuclearize the North. If the US maintains its pressure campaigns, North will keep advancing its nuclear capabilities and missile provocations. The most recent deal made by the US and North Korea was the agreement to exchange between the denuclearization of North Korea and its diplomatic normalization with the US, with the conclusion of peace treaty. That give and take was the only agreement that came out of the summit of the two countries, which was a Singapore agreement in 2018 by Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. The US and North Korea had the follow-up summit meeting at Hanoi in February of 2019, but Trump walked out of negotiations, declaring no deal. After that, Kim has not demanded anything for the US, as if he gave up his expectations to the US. Given such context, I think that the scenario where the US makes a preemptive move on normalization relations with North Korea is worth consideration. I do not believe there is any reason that the US cannot establish relations with North Korea. If the US and Japan had established relations with North Korea as it wanted in the early 1990s, when the South Korea formed ties with the Soviet Union and China, we might not have the North Korean nuclear issue today. With the end of World War II in 1945, the Korean Peninsula was divided in two by big powers, regardless of the will of its own people. The North and South each set up its own government with the assistance of the Soviet Union and the US, respectively. Then in 1950, North Korea waged a war against the South, which lasted for over 3 years. The US fought for the South along with 15 countries the United Nations sent. The Soviet Union did not fight, but China did, helping the North. The two Koreas have technically remained at war for 70 years since the ceasefire. The Korean War has not ended with peace treaty yet. During the Cold War era, the Korean Peninsula has turned into a front line of the US-Soviet confrontation and is now turning into another front line of the US-China power struggle. That is a misfortune for the, not just for the Korean Peninsula, but for the East Asia as well as the world. After the Korean War, South Korea and the US forged a military alliance. One of the world's poorest countries, South Korea was able to maintain security under the umbrella of ROK-US alliance and leap to rank the 6th in the world in terms of general national power in 2022. In this regard, Korea's success is the America's success. Unfortunately, peace on Korean Peninsula has become under threat again. The Korean Peninsula should not be menaced by war anymore. Big powers owe it to the history to help Koreans to establish peace on the peninsula and ultimately be reunited one day. America in particular needs to engage for the sake of peace on the Korean Peninsula and East Asia. The diplomatic normalization between the US and North Korea could be a good beginning of those endeavors. I believe it could be a practical action realizing the American dream on the Korean Peninsula. Thank you. I want to ask your question is the most widely spoken language in the world.
This is a pop quiz. There's a guitar.
Yeah. The answer is broken English. Yeah, I think you have been enjoying the most widespread language in the world for 30 minutes. Thank you for your patience to endure my poor English.
Mr. Lee, thank you so much for your illuminating, insightful talk. I think he addressed many, many important issues. And by the way, my name is Jungbo Shim, Associate Professor of Finance and Risk Management at the CIBER Business School. Thank you for coming here. Before we start taking questions from audience, I would like to acknowledge that Prime Minister Lee's wife, Mrs. Soo-Ki Kim, joined us today. Thank you for coming. Prime Minister.
Yes. Please give me easy questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Charlie Lee, Mr. Charlie Lee, help us interpret between Korean and English. And I see many, many smart students here. I see many familiar faces here. So we'll take a question from audience. Please raise your hand and identify yourself before asking questions. John, please.
John Bradley. You talk about polarization in the United States politics, and I think if you look at the world, certainly the world is much more polarized now than it was 10 years ago. But unfortunately, I don't see a trend against that. I don't see a trend to unity. I just see more and more events causing a rift between the significant powers in the world. Any comments?
총리께서는 세계적 총리님께서 말씀하시기를 미국의 정치의 다극화 현상에 대해서 말씀하셨습니다. 제가 볼 때는 이러한 그 정치 다국화 현상은 꼭 미국뿐만 아니라 전 세계적으로 일반적인 성향인 것 같습니다. 10년 전의 상황과 비교해 본다면 전 세계적인 상황이 그렇게 흘러가는 것 같습니다. 그래서 제가 볼 때는 어떤 통일되는 하나를 이렇게 합쳐지는 그런 성향보다는 점점 더 그런 그 다국화되는 성향이 많아지는 것 같은데 총리님께서는 어떻게 생각하시는지요?
예, 다극화라기보다는 양극화라고 번역이 되죠. 폴러라이제이션. 몇 가지 배경이 있다고 생각합니다. 첫 번째 배경은 많은 사람들이 마음속에 프러스트레이션을 갖게 됐다. 그래서 어느 쪽인가 좀 더 극단적인 주장에 많이 끌리게 됐다. 이것이 하나의 원인이라 생각합니다.
Yes, I would say it's bipolarization rather than multipolarization. And there are some backgrounds there. The first one is that many people, they have in their mind frustration in their mind. So when they have frustration in their mind, they are more like they get more interested in those points where they find their interesting matters.
두 번째 배경은 미디어 환경의 변화입니다. 50년 전만 해도 미국 전국에 그 판매되는 몇 개 신문과 전국에서 시청할 수 있는 몇 개 채널의 텔레비전만 보면 충분했었을 것입니다. 그러나 지금은 헤아릴 수 없이 많은 미디어가 생기고 그러다 보니까 사람들은 그 중에서 자기가 좋아하는 미디어를 골라서 보게 되고 그것이 점점 더 편향적으로 이끌어가는 요인이 되고 있다 생각합니다. 그것도 양극화의 배경으로 작용하고 있습니다.
The second background of the bipolarization of the political matters is, I think, the media environment. There are a lot of changes in the media environment. If you think about like 50 years ago in America, in the USA here, there are not many news medias or TV channels there. So many people, it was enough for them to just watch a few channels or some new news medias. But now we have numerous amount of news medias and channels. So people get to choose their own interest sites or news medias. So it gets more, people tend to get more focused on their own channels or medias of their own interest. That's what causes the bipolarization of political situation nowadays.
배경이 무엇이든 정치의 양극화는 민주주의의 커다란 과제로 등장했고 지금 민주주의가 세계적으로 위기에 직면하고 있다고 한다면 그 내용의 하나는 정치적 양극화라고 생각합니다.
So regardless of their backgrounds, the democracy nowadays has a big homework with this matter. And now the bipolarization, they are causing some crisis in this current world.
In South Korea, the most polarizing factor in domestic politics is the North Korea policy. As the result, every time the administration change hands between the major two parties, the North Korean policy violently overturned. And the policies lose the consistency. And the North Korea could doubt the intent of the counterpart. and the North could look for some pretext to develop with nuclear weapons due to the lack of trust against the South Korea's policies, because it changes every time the government changes.
John,
So John Nolte, a graduate student here. Given some of the, you kind of touched upon it at the beginning of your speech, given some of the isolationist policies that we had in the last administration. I'm just wondering how America can regain the trust that we lost on the globalization policies that we had previously.
총리께서는 연설 중에 그 고립주의 이런 거 하셨는데 미국의 지난 정부의 고립주의 정책을 보았을 때 앞으로 미국이 세계에서의 다른 그런 관계를 회복하고 또 다른 나라와의 그런 관계를 다시 이끌어가기 위해서는 어떻게 해야 할 필요가 있다고 생각하시는지요?
네, 다른 나라도 마찬가지지만 세계 최고의 지도 국가인 미국은 더욱더 약속을 지켜야 할 것입니다. 미국 정부가 말한 것을 실천하는, 이행하는 그런 결과가 축적되면 신뢰는 회복될 수 있다고 생각합니다.
Yeah, I think it applies to all the countries. However, especially for USA, I think the USA needs to become a country of keeping its own word promises. When the USA implements their own words and promises, that will help the USA to regain those relationships with other countries.
Unfortunately, in the US, the foreign policies frequently flipped between the two parties, two administrations. For instance, George W. Bush overturned the major policies under the Clinton administration. The same thing is happening now too. Doing such things, it's hard to regain credibility in the world, I think.
next questions.
Hi, I'm Jenny Sumsky. I work with international. And young people in the United States and across the world are showing more and more interest in Korean popular culture. And Korea is seeing a declining birth rate. Is Korea looking to have more internationalization movements happening to kind of replace that population?
저는 그 CU의 학생입니다. 저는 요즘 전 세계적으로 젊은 사람들이 한국의 여러 가지 한국의 유명한 팝 뮤직 또는 한국의 팝 문화에 대해서 많은 사람들이 점점 더 많은 관심을 갖게 되는 것입니다. 그래서 한국은 이런 한국의 팝 문화를 갖다가 세계화시키는 데서 더욱더 관심을 갖고 있고 앞으로 어떻게 그것을 진행시켜 갈 수 있는지 좀 궁금합니다.
예, 사실은 제가 지난달에 휴스턴 대학에서 강연했을 때 그 담당 교수님한테 방금 그 질문을 제가 받아서 저 나름대로 답을 드린 적이 있습니다.
In fact, I had a lecture at the Houston College, and a professor had the same question for me, so I gave an answer to that question.
한국의 대중음악, 팝 뮤직이 세계적으로 사랑받게 된 이유가 몇 가지 있을 텐데요. 가장 큰 이유는 한국의 대중문화, 팝뮤직을 포함해서 영화나 드라마까지를 포함해서 한국의 대중문화는 이미 한국을 뛰어넘었기 때문입니다. 대단히 보편적인 가치와 보편적인 취향을 미트하고 있다. 그것이 커다란 배경일 겁니다.
There's some reasons for that. I think the first big reason is that the Korean popular music or the Korean pop culture has exceeded beyond the world, So I think the Korean pop culture has very general or universal value and access with the culture. That's why the Korean pop culture is so popular.
The Korean popular culture, including the music and movies and dramas, transcended Korea. They went into the global values and taste. That's the biggest reason it's not so good thing to compare with other cases. But I would like to say, for example, in Japanese pop culture or Chinese pop culture did not go beyond their country, I think. That's the difference. And in order to maintain the love from the global citizens, the Korean artists and the government need to try to pursue the global values and global taste. And not to restrain pop culture for domestic purposes, domestic political purposes.
Yeah, I see several people raise hand, and I'm going to invite Dr. Wayne Cascio. He's a very distinguished retired professor. Welcome.
You got the retired right. Thank you, Jungbo. Prime Minister, I have a question about the young people in South Korea. What are their views about the future? Are they optimistic? How do they see the future?
네, 총리님, 저는 한국의 젊은 사람들에 대한 질문을 했습니다. 한국의 젊은이들은 한국 미래에 대해서 또는 미래에서 어떻게 생각합니까? 젊은이들은 낙관적입니까? 아니면 어떤 상황입니까?
네, 안타깝게도 한국의 젊은이들은 대단히 격렬한 경쟁에 몰리고 있고 미래에 대한 확신을 충분히 갖고 있지 못하다고 생각합니다.
I'm very sorry to say that the young people in Korea, they are getting into a very severe competition, very strong competition among each other. And also, I'm sorry that they don't have a very strong, optimistic view on their future.
As the result, they avoid or delay marriage and birth. And sadly, some people commit suicide Yeah. It could be a price of success, but it's too sorrowful.
Yes, please.
Hi there. First of all, Nakyon 감사합니다. My name is Haley, and I'm a student at the University of Colorado, Denver. My question is how, so considering you said that North Korea took part in 95% of, no, sorry, China took part in 95% of North Korea's trade. My question is, how does that affect your trade relations with China? And what do you think China's role is in the uniting of the Korean Peninsula?
제 이름은 헤일리고요. 저는 스웨덴 학생입니다. 총님께서 말씀하시기를 중국이 북한 무역의 95%를 차지하고 있다고 그렇게 말씀하시는데요. 그러면 총님께서 볼 때는 한국과 중국의 무역은 어떻게 될 것이며 또 중국이 한반도의 통일에 대해서 어떤 역할을 할 수 있는지 견해를 여쭙고 싶습니다.
네. 우선 북한의 무역에서 중국이 차지하는 비중이 그렇게 극적으로 올라간 이유는 북한의 고립이지요.
First of all, the reason that the North Korea and China trade has gone up so much
is the result of the U.S. and international community pressed North Korea as the sanctions and that isolate. As the result, North Korea could become more and more dependent on China. Nowadays, South Korea and China are facing another problems due to the US-China competition. South China is recording a 14 months consecutive trade deficit. The amount is historically big, mainly due to the decrease of the trade against China. Of course, some part of the deficit is originated by the decrease of demand, mainly of the semiconductor after the COVID is almost ended. But at the same time, I doubt China might be applying some invisible coercion. I hope such thing does not happen. The US wants to cooperate on the field of the high-end technology about semiconductor with Taiwan and Japan and Korea. It's good. The South Korean companies are ready to cooperate with the US. but also the South Korean companies want to maintain the export the semiconductors to China. The 60% of South Korean semiconductor are exporting to China. But the US seems not to want the South Korean export to China be expanded or maintained. There's a big challenge for the South Korean semiconductor companies. I hope the US and South Korea cooperate to develop high-end technology about the semiconductor and admit South Korean companies' export of semiconductor. That I call that open alliance. Open alliance. Yeah.
Yes, please.
So as the US is growing towards building back towards that American dream, how do you think that we should continue on a line of progress rather than letting political diversity and political issues kind of negate the progress that we make?
미국이 아메리칸 드림에 대해서 그것을 오히려 더 후퇴시키는 그런 상황이 있는데 그런 것을 갖다가 어떻게 하면 다시 그걸 다시 되살릴 수 있는지 정치적인 그 다양성이라든가 어떤 양극화라든가 그런 것을 떠나서 미국의 그 행보가 아메리칸 드림을 다시 살릴 수 있는 그런 방법으로 가기 위해서는 어떤 것이 있다고 생각하시는지요?
다시 한번 설명해 주실랍니까? 의미가.
Would you repeat the question one more time, please?
Oh, sorry. So as America is moving towards growing like economic opportunity for our population of young people who do have a pessimistic view on the opportunities that are in front of us because of the advancements of technology and et cetera, how do you believe that we should continue on a path towards optimizing our innovation and growing towards more equity for our young population? And how do we let the political atmosphere that's around us stop or hinder our growth towards a more equitable future for our young population?
미국의 젊은 사람들이 현재 미국의 장래에 대해서 상당히 염세적인 그런 성향을 보이고 있는데 우리가 그런 젊은 사람들인데 좀 더 낙관적인 그런 견해를 주기 위해서는 어떻게 해야 할지 정치적인 경향 또는 경제적인 성장에도 불구하고 이러한 그 염세적인 성향에 대해서 우리가 어떻게 하면 더 젊은 사람한테 낙관적인 그런 생각을 할 수 있도록 줄 수 있는지요?
네, 조금 전에 저의 연설에도 언급이 되어 있습니다만은 저는 미국이 국내적으로 중산층을 다시 키우면서 저소득층에 대한 포용 정책 이걸 강화할 필요가 있다고 생각합니다.
As I stated in my lecture, I think the USA need to focus on growing the middle class people, and also the USA need to have a policy including in embracing those low income people.
그러나 불행하게도 미국 정치가 대단히 양극화로 치닫고 있고 바로 제가 말씀드린 그런 정책, 이 경제적 정의의 실현 또는 포용성의 증가라고 하는 정책에서 가장 심각하게 두 개 정당이 정책을 달리하고 있고 더구나 행정부와 의회 다수파가 서로 엇갈리는 상황이어서 적어도 단기간에는 낙관하기가 어렵지 않겠나 생각을 합니다.
Unfortunately, the USA is really going toward the bipolarization, and even though all the development, still the US need to implement the economic justice, and also the US need to focus on involving those tolerance. But now with the conflicts and division of the administrative and also the Congress, it seems like kind of be challenging for a while.
그리고 미국의 연방 정부나 지방 정부에게 제가 요청드리고 싶은 것은 행정의 효율성을 좀 높여달라, 좀 더 빨리 일했으면 좋겠다 하는 생각을 합니다. 특히 한국인의 입장에서는 굉장히 답답한 경험을 많이 하게 됩니다.
And also, one thing I would like to make a respectful request for the federal government, also the local governments of the United States. I hope that the governments can improve the efficiency of their administrative work. So they are kind of quite slow. So if they could improve the efficiency of the administrative work, that would be great.
I have a related question. I came to state 2000 to pursue my American dream, and I see, many international students here. As an international student, I also struggle to survive, but I believe hard work never lie. Hard work really pay off. And my question is, I like the title American Dream is not over yet. And my question is, what do you see happening if American Dream does end?
네. 저는 그 미국의 그 꿈, 아메리칸 드림이 끝이 난다면 총리께서는 어떻게 보시지? 저도 국제 학생으로서 상당히 많은 그런 스트럭을 했고 많이 힘들게 이렇게 왔는데 미국의 드림이 끝난다면 어떻게 될 것 같습니까?
네, 많은 학자들이 다양하게 전망을 하고 있죠. 네, 그 중에서 우리가 좀 주목할 필요가 있는 것은 두 가지 전망입니다. 하나는 중국이 바로 미국을 대체할 것인가, 아니면 다극 또는 무국 체제를 거칠 것인가. 이 두 가지 가능성이 제일 많이 거론된다고 생각합니다.
Yes, many scholars do talk about possible results of the end of the American dream. Those two aspects are, first one, if the China could replace the role or the capacity that USA has been doing so far. And the other one is if the whole world organization or world order will be multi-country led or no living country system.
네, 그 미국의 꿈이 정말로 끝난다면 그 아메리칸 드림이 추구해 왔던 가치들, 예를 들면 민주주의, 인권 또는 다양성의 인정을 무너뜨리는 다른 가치가 세계를 지배하게 될지도 모르는데요. 예를 들면 집단주의적인 문화라든가 또는 통제의 강화라든가 하는 문화가 올지도 모르겠습니다. 그것은 굉장히 아메리칸 드림을 적어도 1세기 동안, 1세기 이상 동안 체험하며 또는 꿈꾸며 살았던 사람들에게는
American dream will come to end, then the American dream has pursued democracy, human rights, and diversity, and other valuable issues. However, if the American dream comes, those things will be destroyed. So if that happens, I would expect that it could be more like a collectivism culture, or enforcing or strengthening the control of the people. So this would happen, then it will be a frustration and it's disappointment for the people who has enjoyed the American dream for the past century.
Thank you very much. We will go to the back side there. Oh yeah, please.
Thank you, former Prime Minister, for sharing your remarks with us this afternoon. My name is Rohan. I'm an undergraduate student at the university. I'm also a student of Dr. Shim as well. Today, we are experiencing, unprecedented globalization across industry. And alongside with that, in conjunction, we're experiencing disruptive technologies enter the marketplace. How do you forecast, and what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence, not only impacting political relations, but also personal relations within populations of society?
저는 제 이름 라한이고요. 저도 신여수 학생입니다. 요즘 우리는 전례 없는 그 세계화 현상을 겪고 있습니다. 여러 가지 면에서 겪고 있는데, 그 중에서 기술적인 면에서도 역시 세계화 현상을 겪고 있는데, 제가 질문하고 싶은 것은 총리님께서는 그 AI가 어떻게 세계화에 영향을 미칠지, 정치 관계뿐만 아니라 또는 개인적인 관계, 이 사회에서의 개인적인 관계까지 AI가 미치는 것에 대해서 총리님의 견해를 여쭙고 싶습니다.
네. 인류가 훨씬 더 편리해지겠죠. 그러나 모든 좋은 일에는 대가가 따를 수 있는 것이니까요. AI의 장점은 취하되 AI가 가져올 수 있는 재앙을 어떻게 최소화할 것인가 하는 큰 과제 또한 우리가 직면하게 된다고 생각합니다.
Yes, the world will be much more convenient and easy to go on. So the issue is that we need to really promote the good points or merits of the AI. However, we need to focus on how to minimize those disastrous aspect of AI.
예를 들어서 콜로라도 대학에서 학생들에게 논문을 요구했는데 어느 학생이 AI의 논문을 제출하면 그때는 학교는 어떻게 할 계획인지 오히려 듣고 싶습니다.
So, for example, if the CU will require students to write a thesis or paper, then I would like to ask the CU, how would the CU react or cope with these papers produced by AI?
Anybody can answer? Associate Dean John, do you have something to tell about that?
Well, you kind of ask AI, you write the paper or no? It doesn't answer.
AI한테 직접 물어봐가지고 AI에게 네가 쓴 거 맞냐 안 맞냐 이렇게 물어볼 수도 있겠죠.
Yes, perhaps.
With respect to AI, it often generates very plausible content that is totally wrong, just not factually correct. And fortunately for professors, at least, there are several organizations that are developing. Microsoft, for example, is developing an AI detector, and it gives you a probability that the content was developed using AI and not a real human being. And also Turnitin.com is another one that's developing a similar kind of product. So it's kind of an arms race, as AI develops, developing new technologies to detect AI. And I think these will become more and more important, at least in the educational context, going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
AI에 대해서는 아마 AI는 AI로 이렇게 대응을 해야 될 것 같습니다. AI가 종종 상당히 있을 만한 개연성이 높은 그런 내용의 자료를 제출하지만 실제로 사실적으로 아주 전적으로 틀린 그런 내용도 AI가 만드는 경우가 있습니다. 그래서 지금으로서는 AI의 어떤 그 AI를 디텍트하는, AI를 갖다가 감정하고 AI를 감시하는 그러한 기술을 또 개발하고 있고요. 그래서 앞으로도 그 AI를 갖다가 감시할 수 있고 AI의 잘못된 것을 디텍트하시는 그런 역할을 개발하는 것이 더 중요하다고 생각합니다.
We take more questions. Joan? Back. Yeah, back there. Yeah, please.
Hello, Prime Minister. My name is Manideep. I'm an international student from India, currently pursuing my master's here at CU Denver. My question is, can you make a comment like what's happening in North Korea as of now? Like, I believe the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has access to nuclear weapons. He does not really treat North Korean citizens very good, like in a democratic way. Can you make a comment on that? Like, how would that impact the world?
저는 그 인디아에서 온 학생인데요. 제가 총리님께 여쭙고 싶은 것은 그 현재 북한이 무엇을 하고 있는지. 제가 이야기로는 김정은이 핵무기를 계속 개발하고 있고 또 그것을 민주적인 어떤 그런 관점으로 활용하지 않을 것이라고 저는 보고 있는데 총리님께서 볼 때 지금 현재 북한에서는 어떤 일이 일어나고 있는지 좀 말씀 부탁드립니다.
예, 참 좋은 질문입니다. 왜냐하면 저도 그것이 알고 싶거든요.
That's a really good question because that's what I want to know too.
지금 김정은 위원장의 할아버지인 김일성 주석이 중국의 마오쩌둥을 만난 일이 있습니다.
So the chairman of the North Korea, the grandfather of the chairman of Kim Jong-un of North Korea, once met Mao Zedong of China in all time.
그때는 중국이 핵무기를 개발한 뒤였습니다.
At the time, that was after the China developed the nuclear weapon.
병원에 입원하고 있던 마오쩌둥을 문안하러 가서 갔던 김일성에게 마오쩌둥은 이런 말을 한 것으로 나타나고 있습니다.
At the time, Mao Zedong was in hospital, and then Kim Jong-un visited Mao Zedong in the hospital. Kim Il-sung, the grandfather of Kim Jong-un, visited the hospital to meet Mao Zedong, and Mao Zedong said,
우리는 쓸데없는 것을 만들었다. 우리는 세계가 중국을 핵 보유국으로 인정하면 그것으로 됐다.
So he said, we made a useless thing, and what we need to simply is that we get the acknowledgement of the whole world that we have the nuclear. That is it.
북한이 미사일을 쏘거나 핵무기를 고도화할 때마다 미국을 비롯한 서방에서는 북한이 미국의 관심을 끌고 협상으로 유도하기 위해서 도발하는 것 아니냐라는 해석이 늘 있었습니다.
So whenever North Korea shoot missiles and also developed the nuclear weapon and improved the nuclear weapon, each time the USA tend to believe that the North Korea is doing that just to lead the USA into a place of negotiation.
그런데 그런 스테레오타입된 해석에 대해서 저는 약간 불만족스럽습니다.
However, I'm sort of not happy with those stereotyped understanding or interpretation.
미국의 관심을 끌기 위해서 그렇게 많은 돈을 쓰는 것이 합리적인 계산인가에 대해서 저는 의문을 가지고 있기 때문입니다.
Because I doubt that the North Korea has been spending so much money to get the interest of the USA.
분명한 것은 미국의 대통령은 임기가 4년이고 운이 좋아도 8년밖에 대통령을 못하지요. 한국에서는 대통령이 5년밖에 못합니다. 그래서 미국이나 한국의 대통령은 취임하면 주로 임기 내에 내가 무엇을 할 것인가를 생각합니다.
One thing for sure is that in the USA, once the president gets elected, he has 4 years of term, and if he's lucky, he has 8 years of term. In South Korea, if one person gets elected to a president, then he has only 5 years of term. So if the presidents, once they get elected, then they think about what they could achieve within their term.
북한은 지도자의 임기가 없습니다. 그리고 김정은은 지금 39살에 불과합니다.
However, North Korea, they do not have any office term for their leader, and Kim Jong-un now is only 39 years of age.
그렇기 때문에 특별한 다른 문제가 없다면 아마도 40년 정도의 고민을 하고 있지 않을까 싶기도 합니다만은 그렇기 때문에 이 자유세계의 지도자들과는 좀 다른 그 사고방식이 있을 수 있다고 생각합니다.
So if there's no particular issue, I would think that North Korea may think about 40 years of future. So if so, because that what they think, the way they think is different from the way the democracy or freedom countries, the leaders of freedom countries would think.
인간에게 생존의 본능이 있는 것처럼 체제도 생존의 본능이 당연히 있을 겁니다.
So just like human beings have, excuse us, just like the human beings have the intention to survive, I believe any regime or any organization has the same instinct to survive.
따라서 북한 체제도 생존 본능이 있을 테고요. 여러 가지 행동은 생존 본능으로 해석될 수가 있을 겁니다.
So I do think that the North Korean regime has the same intention to survive. So all the acts or behaviors of North Korea can be understood based on those intention of surviving.
그러나 북한이 생존을 위해서 그 비싼 돈을 내고 핵을 개발하고 미사일 도발을 계속한다고 하더라도 그것 때문에 주민 생활의 향상의 기회를 포기한다거나 경제 발전의 기회를 희생하는 것은 합리적인 선택이라고 보기는 어렵습니다.
However, even though the North Korea is really struggling to survive for their existence, still for the North Korea to ignore those improvement of its own people's life and also development or improvement of their economic situation, I think that is not good, not acceptable.
사람이 핵을 먹고 살 수는 없거든요.
You know, we cannot live on nuclear.
그 점을 북한 지도자가 생각했으면 좋겠다 이렇게 생각합니다.
I hope the leader of North Korea think about the fact that we cannot live on nuclear.
Wrote an episode about Kim Jong-un. And then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo asked Kim Jong-un like this. The South Korean side told us you have an intent to denuclearize itself, your country. Is that true? To that, Kim Jong-un answered like this. I am a father. I don't want my kids to carry nuclear weapons on their backs the rest of their life. I won't believe his sincerity.
Prime Minister, thanks again for being here. Appreciate it. That last statement altered my question a little bit. I know originally you had mentioned that one of the biggest concerns is the inconsistency of North Korean policy. But do you believe that to date there has been a policy that was actually making progress and had the potential to work that we abandoned? Or is it we still in the search for a policy that could work?
Sorry, would you repeat the question one more time?
So earlier it mentioned that inconsistency in North Korean policy is one of the biggest issues. I'm curious if there's been a policy that we have used already that we abandoned that had the potential of succeeding.
총리께서는 그 북한의 그 일관성 없는 정책이 좀 빅 이슈라고 그 문제가 있다라고 그렇게 지적을 하셨습니다. 제가 여쭙는 것은 혹시 우리가 어떤 정책적으로 예전에 사용했던 그런 정책으로서 어떤 그 폐기됐던 우리가 사용하지 않았던 그런 정책이 혹시 있는지를 여쭙고 싶습니다.
아니 우리 통역께서 지금 말씀하시는 한국말이 좀 듣기 어려워요. 예.
제가 총리께서는 그 전에 그 북한의 일관성 없는 정책이 좀 문제가 있다고 그렇게 지적을 하셨는데 제가 여쭙고 싶은 것은 지금 현재 우리가 쓰고 있는 그런 정책 중에서 또는 과거에 우리가 사용했던 정책 중에서 사용되지 않는 그런 정책이 있는지를 여쭙고 싶습니다.
한국에서 갖는 무슨 말이죠? 어떤 정책 중에서?
Would you please paraphrase the questions so that it could be easier to understand?
Is there a policy that has worked so far for North Korea?
현재까지 정책 중에서 북한에 대해서 효과가 있는 그런 폴리시가 정책이 혹시 있습니까?
예.
Yes.
북한이 가장 도발하지 않았던 기간은 1994년부터 2000년까지의 기간이었습니다.
Yes, the period that North Korea did not cause any trouble or did not exercise any threats against South Korea is between 1994 and 2002
2000년.
or 2000.
그 기간 동안에 북한은 미사일을 딱 한 번 쏘았습니다.
During this time, the North Korea launched the missile only one time.
그 기간 동안에 무슨 일이 있었느냐 하면 1994년에는 미국과 북한이 제네바에서 협상해서 Agreed Framework라고 하는 포괄적 합의를 했습니다.
So during the period in 1994, North Korea and the USA had an agreement called Agreed Framework in Geneva.
그때부터 최종적으로는 이행되지 못했지만 이행을 위한 몇 가지 조치가 있었고 특히 북한의 경수로를 짓는 Light Water Reactor, 경수로를 짓는 합의가 Agreed Framework의 핵심적인 합의였는데 그것을 위한 조치들이 취해지고 있던 기간이었습니다.
So during the time, even though the means was not implemented eventually, however, during the time, the North Korea was in the process of removing those light water reactor.
클린턴 대통령은 취임 초기에는 한국의 보수적 정부와 발을 맞춰서 한미 합동군사훈련을 중단됐던 것을 재개한다거나 했지만 이 94년 Agreed Framework을 만들 때부터 퇴임할 때까지는 대단히 engagement policy에 치중했었습니다.
So President Clinton, at the early stage of his office, he was working together with South Korea to perform those U.S.-Korea military training. However, after this agreed framework, President Clinton has a policy of engaging North Korea.
특히 1999년에는 클린턴 대통령은 윌리엄 페리 전 국방장관을 북한에 대한 특별 정책보좌관으로 임명해서 한국 김대중 대통령과 협력하에 페리 프로세스라는 것을 추진합니다. 그리고 2000년에는 북한 차수 조명록, 미국의 국무장관 매들린 올브라이트 교환 방문과 조인트 커뮤니케를 발표합니다. 그 조인트 커뮤니케는 이제까지 미국이 북한과 맺은 합의 가운데서 가장 강력한 인게이지먼트 정책이었습니다. 바로 그런 협상과 합의 그리고 정책이 진행되는 기간 동안은 북한은 도발을 하지 않는다는 선례가 바로 그것입니다. 이제까지 통계를 놓고 보면 미국이 북한을 압박하고 고립시키면 반드시 도발이 늘어나고 미국이 인게이지하고 협상하면 도발을 자제하는 패턴이 반복되고 있습니다. 그래서 미국이 엔게이지먼트 정책으로 빨리 회귀하고 행동할 필요가 있다고 생각합니다.
So in 1999, the United States, the Secretary of Defense, William Perry, the Clinton administration appointed the Secretary of State, William Perry, as the special agent for North Korea. And so at the time, they made a process of Perry process. So that has been made process. And year 2000, and Madeleine Albright had a special meeting with the North Korean Myung-nok Choi, and then they came to joint communique. And this is one of the most strong policy between the two countries. So if you look at the statistics, when the U.S. Applies the pressure against this North Korea, the North Korea have been acting aggressively against South Korea and the USA. However, when the USA applied the engaged policies toward North Korea has been really not so much aggravating or evoking the South Korea and USA. So I recommend the US to really apply the engagement policy so that that was the only period that North Korea has been very not active. So I recommend the USA to employ the engagement policy.
In short, I would like to answer you like this. The Perry report turned into the Congress said like this: the United States must negotiate with North Korea as it is, not as we might wish it to be. Now we need the memory, the point that Perry report said.
So one last question. If we were to negotiate as they are, do you believe that they would give any concessions within a negotiation to change their current regime?
Sorry, the question was what? If
we were to negotiate as they are, do you believe that they would have the will to make any changes to their current regime?
예, 제가 마지막 말씀드리면요. 만약에 우리가 북한을 있는 그대로의 북한을 상대로 어떤 그 협상을 한다면 그렇다면 북한은 이제까지 해왔던 그런 태도에 대해서 변화할 수 있을 거라고 그렇게 총리님께서는 믿습니까?
가능성이 있다고 믿습니다.
I believe there's a possibility, an opportunity.
왜냐하면 미국은 한 번도 그렇게 하지 않았기 때문에 이제는 그 정책을 재검토할 때가 됐다고 생각합니다.
Because USA has never done that, so I think it is time for the USA to consider the policy.
I suggested the America's preemptive move on normalization relations with North Korea could be worth consideration. If it comes to fruition, the diplomatic normalization between the US and North Korea could be a game changer in East Asia, I think, and it could affect the US-China competition too.
We may take one or two last questions. Yeah, John.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. My name is Juan, maybe Juan in Korean. I'm an international student here at CU Denver Business School, and I also came to America to pursue the American dream. My question for you is, considering the current massive and unprecedented crisis in the frontier, in the Mexican frontier between America and Mexico, that has been bringing millions of immigrants from Latin America to the U.S. Based on your foreign relation experience, what would be like the stance that the American government should play in this big crisis, and what would be the role that Latin American governments should play out in this big crisis that it's putting millions of people in life-threatening situations. Thank you.
제 이름은 완이고요. 저기 CU 덴버의 국제 비즈니스 학생입니다. 저는 그 멕시코하고 그 미국 사이에 그 수백만 명이 이민을 오는 그 멕시코와 미국의 그 국경선에 그 수백만 명이 이민이 몰려드는 그런 상황에서 미국이 취해야 할 어떤 정책이 있는지, 미국이 어떻게 해야 할지에 대해서 총리님께 여쭙고 싶습니다.
네, 오늘 제가 받은 질문 중에서 가장 어려운 질문이라고 생각합니다.
Yeah, I think that's the most difficult questions I have today.
네, 미국이 여러 가지 현실을 감안한 제도를 만들고 그 제도가 강화되는 경향에 있는 것으로 알고 있습니다.
I understand that the USA is working on to building a system reflecting the realities of the situation, and I think they will be working.
그러한 제도는 법의 지배 원칙에 따라서 시행돼야 하겠지만, 그러나 그와 동시에 어느 경우에도 인도적 불행이 생기지 않도록 하는 것은 미국다운 행정이다라고 생각합니다.
So I think all those policies and system needs to be based on rule of law. However, even if there's a rule of law, still we need to prevent any unfortunate situations where the human rights are not respected. So we need to think about the system that does not cause unfortunate to people.
좀 더 세련된 미국다운 정책이 있을 수 있다고 생각합니다. 그 국경 근방에서 최근에 집단적인 비극이 있었다는 것을 저는 기억하고 있습니다. 그런 일들이 최소화되고 생기지 않도록 장치를 구하는 것이 미국다운 일일 것이다고 생각합니다.
So I believe that the USA can work out the situation with policy or with some system that makes America look like America. And I understand that there's some very tragic events in the borderline, and I hope that those tragic events do not happen anymore.
Oh, only one last question. Maya. No. Yeah.
전공 중이고 미국에서 인턴을 하고 있는 대학생입니다. I'm an undergraduate student who majoring in engineering in South Korea, and I'm doing internship here in the US. And my last question is quite interesting. So as far as I'm concerned, the term American dream is not just for the citizens for the US, it's rather for global citizens, right? Do you think there's any Korean dream that other global citizen people have when they come to Korea? And do you believe there's any particular reasons that drag so many people to Korea nowadays?
네, 저는 한국에서 공학을 공부하고 여기서 인턴을 하고 있는 학생입니다. 아메리칸 드림은 미국 시민들만의 드림이 아니라 글로벌 전 세계 시민들의 드림이라고 그렇게 저도 이해하고 있습니다. 또 요즘에는 그 한국 코리안 드림도 있는데 그 코리안 드림에 따라서 많은 사람들이 코리안 드림을 언급하고 있습니다. 그래서 총리님께서는 그 한국이 그 많은 세계적인 시민들을 갖다가 유치할 수 있는, 끌어들일 수 있는 그런 코리안 드림이 있다고 보십니까?
예, 그렇게 되길 바랍니다. 많은 도전 과제가 있고 한국도 이제까지 탈냉전 기간에 경험하지 못했던 새로운 도전에 직면해 있습니다만 그런 도전들을 극복하고 할 수만 있다면 되도록 많은 나라 청년들이 코리안 드림을 꿈꿀 수 있게 했으면 좋겠다 하는 꿈을 저도 가지고 있습니다.
I do hope so. We have a lot of hormones for that matter, and also we have a lot of experiences that we did not have during the Cold War, and we are experiencing new experiences here. So I hope that we have those things possible, and I do believe that there's good possibilities that we could direct people from the world to Korea.
예를 들어서 개도국의 청년들이 한국에 와서 꿈을 이루고 또 개도국 정부 사람들이 한국에서 새로운 정책이나 새로운 행정 기법을 배워서 자기 나라에서 시행하고 그런 일들이 좀 더 늘어났으면 좋겠다라고 생각을 합니다.
For example, I hope that a lot of young people from the developing countries could come to and achieve their dreams, and also I hope that a lot of government agencies from those developing countries come to Korea and learn the policies and also administrative works there, so that they could help those young people achieve their dreams.
우리 청년들이 조국에 대해서 자부심과 희망을 갖는 것이 선행돼야 할 것입니다. 자기들은 힘드는데 남에게 꿈을 꾸라고 말하는 것은 무리일 테니까요.
So for that, I think the Korean young people in Korea, they need to have the pride in their country. Without that, we really cannot ask other people to have a Korean dream.
예, 제가 답변을 짧게 해서 한 분의 질문을 더 받을 수 있게 된 것 같아요. 시간이.
Yeah, Mr. Lee is willing to take one more questions. Thank you. One more last questions. Okay, may I ask a question? You mentioned about the relationship between China and the U.S. China, some rising tensions between those countries. My question is, what might happen if U.S. does not take a leading role on the world stage? Will another country be able to take the position it used to have?
총리님께서 말씀하시는 그 미중 간의 관계에서 부상하는 중국의 그런 상황을 말씀하셨고 미중 간의 긴장에 대해서 언급을 하셨는데 제가 드리는 말씀은 만약에 미국이 세계적인 그런 세계에서 주도적인 역할을 하지 못할 경우 그러면 어떤 차이나나 또는 다른 나라가 미국이 했던 그런 주도적인 역할을 할 수 있다고 보십니까?
The National Security Strategy report published in the October last year said like this: China is only one challenger against America with its will and capability to challenge. But at this stage, I do not think China wants to replace America's leadership as a whole at once. At first, China looks to want the shared leadership with America. they want to and then expand their power and influence afterwards, I think.
Prime Minister, Mr. Lee, thank you so much for sharing your deep insight and answering all questions.
Thank you, everyone who gave me questions, and thank you, everyone also who didn't give me questions.
Thank you so much for audience for joining us and for asking wonderful questions. To appreciate his visiting and his talk, we present a small gift for him. Thank you again.